You know, there's a debate that there could be constitutional crisis if President Boyka commissioned the new Chief Justice while the outgoing Chief Justice is still in office. Is that really the case? Our guest will be here tonight. That's the Bar Association president to make us to understand exactly whether there will be constitutional crisis or not. And so we'll be right back. But before then, between 8 to 8:30, I will be looking at the speech delivered by the outgoing president of the African Development Bank. I will be looking at that speech. You know, yesterday he spoke at a gathering of government officials. Whether that speech was a delivery of rebuke of our officials or whether it was a counsel, we'll talk about that before our guests can come in at 8:30. Until then, Sabo George is my name. Have a pleasant time. And of course, get glued to your radio. We want you to follow the show. Again, just tap on your Facebook page, Nighttime Heat. As soon as you do that, you're going to follow the show. And then you share the show for your friends, your relatives, your loved ones, your partners, so that they also can follow. Besides, we are also streaming live on our YouTube channel. Again, just tap Nighttime Heat, and then you subscribe and hit the notification bell so that anytime the show comes on, you are notified. And of course, you follow the show. We are also streaming live on Prom FM, Monrovia 105.5. So tonight, we wanted to share the show. Tonight promises to be very interesting. So, but George is my name. We'll be right back after the same.
Let's start.
We've started with sincere apologize for the interruption there. You know, sometimes these things happen, but they are avoidable. So we've avoided them now. No, we've avoided them now, so they're not going to happen anymore. Okay, one of my panelists is already here, George Kennedy. George, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Sabo. Good evening to everyone, and we say keep listening again. You will hear the best on the show, and we are here to listen to the president of the Bar Association to tell us the constitutional aspect. And people will give their opinion. Mm-hmm. So that's what makes the show to be very important. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we are awaiting Moses Sandy. I'm sure Sandy will shortly join us. Like I said, basically, between 8 to 8:30, we'll be looking at the speech delivered by the outgoing president of the African Development Bank. He's been in country. Yesterday, he held a meeting with a gathering with government officials. I'm sure the president was there as well. And of course, he spoke very well. So is his speech a delivery of a rebuke of our officials? Or was it just a counsel? Was he trying to advance them? We'll be looking at that this evening between now and 8:30 when our guest comes in. That's the president of the National Bar Association, Councillor Bono Vama. You'll be here, and of course we'll be looking at the growing debate as to whether there'll be constitutional crisis if President Boyka commissions the new Chief Justice while the outgoing Chief Justice is still in office. We've been hearing a couple of views on that. Some believe that there could be a constitutional crisis if that happens. Some said, well, they don't see that happening. But the Bar Association will be making a major policy statement on that this evening when we grill the president of the bar as soon as he comes in. And so let's try now to play this tape that the African Development Bank, I think he's outgoing president. I'm sure he's outgoing. Yeah. He spoke yesterday. We'll try to get a tape so that we can play. I want Moses has come on. Okay, Moses hasn't yet. We haven't seen Moses yet, but shortly Moses will be on. So we're trying to get a tape. We're trying to upload and then play it so that we all can listen to what he said, because there's this debate, some interpretations of what he said. Some belief is, it was a speech offering or delivering a rebuke of our officials, and others said, well, that was just a counsel he was trying to give them. So let's try to play the tape quickly, and then we take a listen.
Fully aligned with the arrest agenda, and that is why I say that you can be sure that the African Development Bank will be there beside you, with you, supporting you to translate that arrest into concrete impact on the ground. The second lesson that I have learned that I want to share with you: demand measurable results. The third lesson: hold ministers accountable. This is very, very important if you are ever going to really succeed. The primary responsibilities of a minister is to help the president succeed by designing and implementing policies and programs in their respective portfolios to deliver measurable and impactful results. There is therefore no reason for any minister to underperform, because a minister reports to the president. You see, if you are to lead, you have to take risks, and you will never inspire people when your vision is a Mickey Mouse vision. And so here's my advice to ministers: please set very high targets. If you don't want to be a minister, don't ask for the job. Because the job of a minister is not a decorative plant. The job of a minister is to work selflessly for the people, relentlessly, against all odds, to deliver for the president who puts you there. That is what it takes. And so don't tell me that whenever you're a minister, you set your goals so low. That is not ambitious enough. Set very ambitious things. Set it because you have the president to back you to do it. I think you should clap for the president to do that. Fourth, encourage teamwork. One of the biggest problems you will have as ministers, or that we have in government, is ego. Don't you know I am the minister of this? And don't you understand I am the minister of that? And therefore, ministers work contrary to each other. Somebody wants to do this, the other one wants to go the other direction. Please, as a minister, forget about your egos. Work together for the delivery of impactful programs for Liberians. We deliver more when we work together, instead of each standing in and defending their own siloed territories. I would like you, Mr. President, to please put in place an interagency presidential performance award system that rewards collective effort around the baobab of opportunities that you decide yourself, because you have to work as one government. Fifth, execute via one government. As you work together, your work is so important, but what's most important is what is your government delivering at the end. So don't major on the minors, major on the major. because the president will be assessed by what comes out of that assembly line. That's what we should be doing. One government, simple but powerful. The sixth point I want to say, it's about football. Now, there's no real need for you to have rules in soccer if a referee never uses the yellow card or the red card. Mr. President, I want to applaud you for your decision to conduct performance appraisals for public institutions. Give it up to the president. I also want to commend you for your work to sanction those that are not in compliance. I want to commend you for your performance management and compliance system, critical to track performance. But it is only as good as the system applies consequences management. When you see underperformance of an individual, of an agency, of an institution that is not scoring development goals for you, change the team. And lastly, seventh, re-engineer, reform, and strongly support the civil service and a reformed judiciary that is independent to safeguard the rule of law. Mr. President, the civil service is the engine room of government. However, it is not always well aligned with the vision and direction of governance. Sometimes it is too bureaucratic and lack performance culture, which undermines the ability of governments to succeed and to succeed quickly. An effective civil service also must have a performance culture to deliver quality services for its citizens. Mr. President, I would like to commend the government for launching the Service Delivery Charter, which you have. But more than that charter, it is how the citizens assess the quality of services that matters more than anything else. The rule of law and good governance are critical for national development, whether it's in terms of protection of human rights, property rights, and contract enforcement, which are critical for attracting investments. An independent and well-supported judiciary is the backbone for national development.
Okay, so you listen to the outgoing African Development Bank president, Dr. Adesina, speaking yesterday at a gathering of government officials. There's this debate that his delivery was just a rebuke of our officials, but some believe that it was just a counsel. He was trying to advise them, but not rebuking them. But in some quarters, it's been interpreted another way. We listened to him. He spoke about holding your ministers accountable. He said the president should do that. They should implement plans and policies. Ministers, that's our responsibility to implement those plans and policies that will make the government to work. There should be no reason for any minister not to perform. He said there should be no reason. Ministers should perform, and I think that's this is set high target. When they are setting a target, their goals should be something high, and he made me also. He spoke on a couple of issues, but what did you gather from what he said?
Well, the president of the African Development Bank was just paraphrasing the policy of the African Development Bank to the politicians in the political setting. These are the qualities, these are the elements, these are the basis upon which this bank and other multilateral institutions perform. They remove underperforming officials. They hold them accountable when they give them a job. They push for teamwork. They ensure that in the position they gave you, you do it based on teamwork. And so the bank has been pumping money, investing a lot in Liberia. The bank doesn't want to see its investment going in vain. People misapplying its investment. So the bank is telling the president that those who you put in high offices of trust
should be people who are ambitious enough, should be people who are accountable, should be people who are hardworking, should be people who embrace teamwork, should be people who are honest, and should be people who are independent. Right? So that's how these multilateral institutions start. That's why the demand of them. And he was not rebuking government officials. He was telling them at the political setting what they should do as top officials to ensure that the government achieve its goal and also help the bank achieve its goals in Liberia, because the bank cannot be financing programs and no projects are lagging behind, slow pace because of some officials sitting there, still cleaning offices, So that's from that perspective I'm looking at.
Okay, so you believe that he was not rebuking them, rather he was trying to just counsel them. But he also said that if you don't ask for the job, if you are not prepared to perform.
Yes. Will you apply? Will you write the African Development Bank for you to be a country manager in a country, and you don't know what to do?
But there are others who believe that he spoke as if he's a customer, he's aware of what is happening politically on ground. When you find that there are individuals who ask for a job, the requested, they did all they could to have a permit, but unfortunately, so he spoke as if
this is the African problem. This is the problem.
Let me try to bring Moses in quickly.
The problem of honor performance is not just
unique to Liberia. Okay, let me talk to Moses quickly. Moses, welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you so much, Soba. Thank you. And let me say hi to my friend and brother, Mr. Kennedy. I apologize, guys. I ran into traffic. I'm driving, so that's why. But this is a very important discussion, and it is good that I got in the middle of it. Look, Soba, Mr. Kennedy, my brother, I disagree with you on this one.
Okay.
I say I disagree with you on this one because the way the president of the African Development Bank spoke, he spoke like he actually went to Liberia to scold our public officials for underperforming. He spoke like he's the president of the Republic of Liberia. You cannot treat people like that. He was condescending. He was disrespectful. What he did, that statement should be emanating from the president of the Republic of Liberia. Let me give you a typical example. Sobo, you my friend, if I invite you to my house, and we come and you begin to tell my kids, you need to do well.
You gotta respect
your grades are bad. You don't do chores. You need to improve on. You need to begin to listen to your parents. That would insinuate that I may have told you that my kids are underperforming, that grades are terrible. And that kind of statement should not be coming from a friend who came to visit me. It means that I am not a good parent. It means that my wife is also not a good parent. And that's what the president of the African Development Bank did to our public officials yesterday. I'm sure President Bouaka was embarrassed. You don't need an outsider to come and tell you that your public officials are underperforming. Or, the time of leisure is over. It's time for you to perform. It's time for you to step up. You asked for the job. We gave you the job. We want to see performance. No, Mr. President, that doesn't emanate from you. Liberia has a president. Let a man be given the opportunity to score his public official, to redirect them, to tell them, hey, you either step up to the place or you will not have a job. Let me stop there.
So Moses, okay.
So I just want Moses, my colleague, to understand that as you came literally, if you have your home and I'm spending some money for the upkeep of your home, I have a say in that home. The African Development Bank, as I said, has a lot of projects in Liberia that it is financing, like in other African countries. So it's not only here, they are demanding performance. The African Development Bank president did not come here just as ordinary friend of Liberia. He came because the financing road projects, the financing different projects in Liberia. And they have country manager here that monitors those projects. If they are slow, he will speak to it.
So then I agree with Moses, and I also agree with you, because the fact that they have a representative here, it shows that what he was saying are things that he must have been told. That look, in Liberia, where we are financing projects, there are some officials who are not, the presidents are not holding accountable. There are some officials who are not, officials of the government are not working as a team.
Yes, they are slow.
They are slow. They are divided. In fact, one point in time, he talked about teamwork. Apart from that, he talked about how an official should not be proud, not being arrogant, it's like he was told that some of the officials in the government are not performing; they are underperforming
in terms of projects.
Not projects alone, but I think he was trying to make them to understand that look, as officials, you are under obligation to come up with policies and programs, to help the president achieve his objectives. And like Moses said, he's a stranger, but to have spoken the way he spoke, one would think that his message was just he was just delivering a rebuke of our officials and not canceling them.
If it is coming from someone who doesn't know the role the AFDB is playing in Liberia, I won't have problem with it. But if it comes from someone who knows the bank's role in Liberia, then of course I will.
But again, Mr. Kennedy, he was not speaking specifically on the issue of the bank. No, he was speaking generally. That look, for the government to succeed, it means that the minister should work as team. For the government to succeed, ministers should be able to come up with, should craft policies and programs. For the government to succeed, the president should be able to hold his ministers accountable. So that was not speaking specifically about the bank.
That was the president of the African Development Bank based in Africa.
And
welcome, Moses. Let Moses come quickly.
Mr. Kennedy, look. In diplomacy, you could be criticizing your friend, but the way you frame your message, you have to be a little bit euphemistic. But this guy came across as condescending. Liberia has a president. Yes, I agree that the African Development Bank is making a lot of investment in Liberia. And I'm sure he understands the protocol. If he has problem with people in the Liberian government, and he believes that the government, funding from the African Development Bank, the funding is not meeting its intended objectives. That is where he holds behind the scene discussion with the president, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. They sit and talk. He said, look, this is what we as a bank have seen happening in Liberia. This is what we have seen in other African countries. Mr. President, I know you people mean well, but is it possible that you guys can make some progress in this area? Monitoring, supervision. That's something. But you cannot have the president sitting with you in the hall and you're telling the president that his public officials are not performing. They are not working in unison. That is not your place.
And besides, you are telling the president that you are instructing the president or advising the president to hold them accountable. How do you know that the president is not holding them accountable?
He's not holding them accountable. You are literally berating our president. You can't do that.
So you understanding it as him giving instruction
Advising the president to hold accountable. So in other words, he's saying to the president, your ministers are not being held accountable. Mr. President, you must hold them accountable.
In fact, he mentioned the steps that the government is taking in terms of the fight against corruption and stuff. And say, Mr. President, we want you to do more. We want you to kindly permit to support an independent and well-supported judiciary.
So you see that. So it means, Moses, it means that the man is informed. He's informed the way the government is proceeding, and he knows a couple of things that the government has done, and he knows what where the government has slipped. So he came in as not advising, but trying to rebuke. Say, look, you must hold your people accountable. Two ministers, you must operate as a team, work as a team. Ministers, you should be able to come up, craft policies and programs for the government to succeed. You can ask for the job if you know you are not performing or you can't perform. So those are hard-hitting, statements that he made.
I look at it from the point that we should take it as an advisement. Because most of the points that he stretched on, they have been areas in our countries from the past, for history.
No, let's not talk about the past. We have been weak. We have been weak. No, we can't go back to the past. We are not talking about the past.
We've been weak in those places. We've been criticized as a state in those places.
We can't talk about the past. He didn't come to address the past. He came to address the present, because I'm sure he's aware that this government came on a matter of rescuing the people. So as a rescuing government, he's saying to the president, Mr. President, hold your people accountable.
Sabo, I don't think your opinion represents the opinion of the African Development Bank.
What you say that?
I think if you ask him what he meant, he will historicize it.
You don't have to.
As a Nigerian, as a person from Nigeria, he knows the role his country has played here. He even knows, in fact, Liberia fought for him to be president of the AFDB. I followed that election. Liberia supported him throughout. The same Minister of Finance today, or Gafwan, they all went to go support him. Look, let me say this: if someone criticizes you honestly, you should take it in good faith as an advisement or item. These things he's saying.
But that criticism is a rebuke now.
No, it's a rebuke. No, he didn't say you are. He said you should. He didn't say you are. He said you should. There's a difference between to become direct.
Let me just say this quickly, right? Gentlemen, first thing, the president of the African Development Bank must understand that cabinet ministers of Liberia are not amenable to him, meaning that he cannot come and tell them what they can do and what they cannot do. He does not have that authority to evaluate.
You're missing it. You're missing it.
Yeah, Judge. The president doesn't have the authority to evaluate the performance of our workers. As an outsider, he can say, look, as a bank, this is what we have noticed. And you guys will do well if you do A, B, and Z. And if there are legitimate concerns, in government that he thinks that the president is not measuring up to, because that statement that he made yesterday, it shows that President Boyka is not leading with efficiency. He's not supervising. He's not tracking his people. He embarrassed the president. So if these are things that you are concerned about, this is where you ask for behind the scene discussion. Moses, Mr. Kennedy, you cannot invite me to your house. And I come to your house and I'm sitting there and I'm telling you your kids, oh, why you guys don't do the dishes? Why do you come home so late? And your wife will be looking at you. But Mr. Kennedy, who is this Moses man? Did he come here to run our house? The guy literally scolded our public officials. That was embarrassing. You don't treat people like that.
What you are missing, Mr. Sandy, is I just told you.
Okay, gentlemen, let me open the last briefly. I know our guest also here at this time. That's the national president of the National Bar Association, Councillor Vama is supposed to be here, but he hasn't come yet. So as soon as he comes, in fact, he's coming for 1 hour. I'm sure we'll still continue with the discussion. But in the meantime, let me try to open the lines to ask our listeners and viewers. Please, again, viewers, you can share the show. Want to share the show? Just go on your Facebook page and you type Nighttime Heat, and right away, you go to watch the show and you share the show so that your friends, relatives, and loved ones can also follow. And besides, you can also the show is also being streamed on Prime FM 105.5. Our guest is coming. I'm sure he should be around. But in the meantime, let's try to open the lines before he comes. 077-8460-793. What do you think about the speech delivered yesterday by the outgoing president of the African Development Bank? Do you see it as scolding our people, rebuking our people, or do you see us as advice? In fact, we can't take calls again because our guest is already here, and so we can't take calls. We're just going to Moses is going to take a break quickly, a break of the same song, and then we come back as soon as possible. Okay, so welcome back to the program. We're trying to set up for our guests to be comfortably seated so we can have a discussion quickly. Let me ask my two panelists to welcome the president of the National Bar Association. That's the national president, Councillor Bono Vama. I'm sure you've been hearing about him. You've been very well. We have some constitutional and legal issues to discuss with him tonight. So we thought that it was quite necessary and prudent to have him on this program. So you can welcome him quickly.
Councillor Vama, good evening, sir.
Good evening, gentlemen.
You are welcome to the Nighttime Heat, and I can assure you that we are well seated to listen to your legal wisdom and to learn from you. We're not lawyers, so we hope that you will really provide the necessary information that will help educate the public, including ourselves. So you are welcome, sir. And I'm George Kennedy. So
thank you for the hospitality. I think it's good to be here today. We have gone back and forth on this, my appearance today, and it's good to be here. And let me say a big thank you to you guys for doing your best to inform the public out there on topical issues that border on everything, whether national security, rule of law, the economy, and everything. Why in route here, how you guys discussing the African Development Bank pertinent interpretation in Liberia, and which is so good. But it's good to be, and I hope we can do justice to our appearance here tonight to look at the issues that you have. If we can, we will provide the necessary answers and to see what we can do to remain engaged with the public on topical issues that bordered on rule of law. I think it's good to be here, and so I want to say thank you for the opportunity. We hope we can do our best.
Okay, so Moses, again, you can also welcome you can greet our guests.
Yes, Councillor and President of the Bar Association. So it's a pleasure to have you. This is my first time getting to meet you virtually. I hope this can be a very interesting discussion tonight. It's a privilege to have you as a guest. I know we have come to discuss Liberia, and on behalf of my colleagues, I want to say welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Moses. I think we met before you traveled to the States when you used to work. You used to be the president. You worked for the president before, right?
Yeah, BC.
I work for. Oh, are you there? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I work for LBS. As former editor at LBS. I work for the Ministry of Information as well. You know, Liberia is a small society. Went to the University of Liberia. You know, we may have run into one another, but it's been a while in a way. So I just want to say it's a pleasure to have you tonight, my brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Well, thanks for everything. Yeah.
Okay, so listeners, viewers, again, what to do? Share the show. Just go on your Facebook page and then you tap Nighttime Heat. As soon as you do that, you're going to follow the show and also share the show so that your friends and relatives and loved ones can also follow. You can also go on the YouTube channel and you tap Nighttime Heat. As soon as you do that, you're going to also watch the show. Make sure that you subscribe and then you hit the notification bell while you are on your YouTube channel. We are also streaming live on Prime FM Monrovia 105.5. Again, Prime FM Monrovia 105.5. The show is also being live on Watch TV Liberia and Excellent Liberia TV. They are also carrying the show live. And so we have the national president of the National Bar Association, Councillor Bono Varma. Councillor Varma has been around for quite a long time. We refer him very well. We respect him. And the reason why we thought that Councillor Varma should come, because we are hearing in the public that constitutional crisis is in the offing. If the president commissioned the new Chief Justice while the outgoing Chief Justice is still in office, so there will be a constitutional crisis. You know, the bar being also a legal advisor to the president, we saw that there's a need to invite Councillor Varma, who's very versed in legal matters. So, Councillor Varma, again from my end, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Saba. It's good to be here.
Okay. Now, since you became president of the Bar Association, I know we spoke while you were president. We spoke on several occasions. I interviewed you while I was at LBS. But since you became president, this is the first official interview, I'm sure, granting this platform. So we'll talk about the bar a little, but we want to just go deep into the reason why we called you, Councillor Varma. Do you think that the constitutional crisis is in the offing? If I thought that the president of the Republic of Liberia commissioned the new Chief Justice while the old Chief Justice is still in office.
Thank you, Saba, and I want to say thank you for the invite again. On behalf of the Liberian National Bar Association, a professional membership organization, I serve as its president, and also the West African Bar Association that also serves as its president. It's good to be here tonight to remain engaged with you guys in the public on the issues that matter in the real law sector. The bar is a very great institution. Since 1907, it has been around in legal advocacy, represents the entire legal community of our country, which subsumes the Supreme Court, Chief Justice, Associate Justices, judges, of Court of Records, Special High Court judges, magistrates, attorneys, and counsellors. So, you that's a very critical institution in the body politics of our country. And so it has tremendous responsibilities. It has a mandate to advocate for enhancement in the real estate sector. It has a mandate to protect the general interests of its membership. It has a mandate to checkmate national governments that come in power, to know whether or not the governments are in compliance with the constitution of our country. So it is a very critical institution. So it's good. I know, like I said, we've been going back and forth on this invitation. So it's a privilege and opportunity that we come here today to face you all, great panelists, and the public out there on topical national issues.
Okay.
I don't know where this is coming from. And I know there was a banner headline 2 days ago on the front page African newspaper that said there's a looming constitutional and institutional crisis in the face of the ongoing transitional process at the judiciary. And so yesterday I did a very detailed article just to provide public legal education on this subject matter. And from where I sit, I know that there's no looming crisis. There's no looming constitutional.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely, there's no looming institutional or constitutional crisis. From where I sit, I can say to you that the outgoing Chief Justice and the incoming Chief Justice are working together for it in a very transparent transitional process. And there is not going to be any overlap on any functions. And there is not going to be a situation where we're going to have confusion. I know some people have been pointing to that in the media and in the public. In that article, if you read that article yesterday, we indicated that the president has performed his constitutional responsibility, and the outgoing Chief Justice is also in conformity with the law because she has attained the age 70. That was June 26. What matters right now is the effective date on which the current Chief Justice leaves office. And from what I know, from where I sit, it's going to be August 15.
Okay.
So then, Mr. President, His Excellency, has nominated His Honor Yemi Kokwe-Besse, the current Chief Justice, who has been confirmed in keeping with the Constitution of Liberia, and is to be commissioned.
Okay.
Commissioning process on our governance system speaks to the formal instrument of an appointment, which is supposed to consummate the appointment process or processes. And so we heard that commissioning ceremony should have taken place yesterday. And later on, we heard that it was postponed. And so that's why it is. And so, but what is important for the public to note, that the effective date upon which the current Chief Justice leaves office will be August 15. What that means, whatever action that is supposed to be effected, whether it is commissioning or sitting of the Chief Justice, the new Chief Justice, must take place after August 15. So there is no looming constitutional crisis, there's no looming institutional crisis. And we thought that was critical for the public to understand. So if you read that article that we published yesterday, that article speaks to everything. The only time there will have been a constitutional crisis is if the president had commissioned the new Chief Justice with the current Chief Justice staying in office. But then it was a good idea for the presidency to have postponed the commissioning ceremony, to avoid hula baloo in this process. So again, you know,
do you think it was
again, you know that I'm national president, so I'm privileged to information. I am well conversant with the process. I navigate between the outgoing Chief Justice and the incoming Chief Justice. Well, just Sunday night, I was with the incoming Chief Justice. We had conversation, so we are aware. The public needs to know that there is a law, and I call it a law because it is a judicial canon, judicial canon 2, governing the practice, Supreme Court practice for judges and all these people. That canon provides, because you know, you are aware that when someone is appointed to judgeship, whether a circuit judge or a Supreme Court justice and or a Chief Justice, such person is elevated to dignity. So in the wisdom of the Supreme Court that is mandated by Article 75 of the Constitution to promulgate rules to govern the practice of law in our jurisdiction, that canon was formulated, Canon 2 of the judiciary. It provides that the Chief Justice and Associate Justices are supposed to be formally seated before they begin to perform judicial functions.
Okay.
I don't think many members of the public are aware about that canon. What they may be aware about is the appointment process, the nomination, the confirmation, and the commissioning process. But there is a law. There's a judicial canon provision that provides that before a Chief Justice and all associate justices can be or can begin to perform judicial function, that person must be seated. So even after the commissioning process that is normally performed by the president, there's another layer that speaks to a formal sitting ceremony provided for under the judicial canon. And that's what we're making reference to yesterday. So if the president were to commission the new Chief Justice while the current Chief Justice is in office,
okay,
we think there would be some misconception, because it means effectively that you have two Chief Justices.
Surely.
And so that's why, and I think in the wisdom of the presidency, the issue around the commissioning ceremony for the new Chief Justice is being postponed, because we think until the effective date of retirement of the current Chief Justice, which is going to be on August 15, there should be no action in that direction. And I think that is it. So I just want to say to you that there is no looming crisis, there's no constitutional crisis that looms over the judiciary. I can speak to you authoritatively that the transition process is going to be very smooth. Conversations are being held, so there's nothing to worry about.
Okay.
There is not going to be any process to torpedo the process of a new Chief Justice coming in. Madam Chief Justice outgoing has attained age 70, provided for under the Constitution, and she's going to retire honorably. So that is it actually on that subject matter.
Okay, so you said there could only be a constitutional crisis if the president had commissioned the incoming while the outgoing is...
Because effectively, if you commission a public official, it means that you have formally appointed, and then an oath will be administered to that person.
Okay.
So it means that that person will assume office immediately. But I just said to you, with the provision of Canon 2, Judicial Canon 2, which provides for all these, procedural ramifications, that before the Chief Justice can begin to do judicial function, he or she must be formally seated. Are you getting me? On the side of the Constitution, the president has acted, and even if he were to commission the incoming Chief Justice, there still remains a layer to be fulfilled. Okay. And that layer is the judicial canon that calls for a formal sitting of the Chief Justice. Okay. So as we speak, I believe that there is not going to be any crisis. There is not going to be any friction. There's going to be a smooth transition process between the outgoing and incoming Chief Justices, and the new Chief Justice will formally take over after August 15th. So there's no looming crisis there. I don't think the public should begin to speculate on that.
About looming crisis.
About looming crisis over the transitional process, because I think everything is going on smoothly. And so I thought that was the legal education that we did provide yesterday to the public, so that the public can get to understand all of this process. And thankfully, the presidency yesterday postponed.
Is it based on the advice of the Bar Association?
I can see that. I can see
but
that.
If you give an advice, you can admit that.
I can see. I know what I spoke to the president directly. I did public education. It was published in newspapers today and was on Facebook for people to read. I'm president of the bar, so I have obligation to the public to provide, code.
But also, you have access to the president. You can call him.
Yes, of course.
Mr. President,
yes,
of course, postpone that.
Under these circumstances, I have not spoken to the president, but I think they took note of the public legal education that we did yesterday, and they took note and decided to postpone this whole idea of commissioning, just to avoid any friction, any hula baloo over the subject matter. So there's no looming crisis. So that is quite clear. So I don't want people out there to speculate that there's looming crisis.
Looming crisis.
Yes.
Okay. Moses wanted to come in.
Yes, Sabbath. I just want to say this, Mr. President, you have just confirmed I know you may have done that unintentionally, but for the fact that you have informed the people that yes, the ceremony which was scheduled for yesterday, the commissioning ceremony, that ceremony has been rescheduled because had that happened, the looming problem which Front Page Africa made mention of, we would have had that problem. So the rescheduling of the commissioning ceremony, I think, is laudable on the part of the president
That's what we said.
because the president has legal advisors and others, and later they realized that we cannot have two justices. I mean, we cannot have two chief justices at the same time. So Front Page Africa was not in error. Front Page Africa report was predicated on what was initially scheduled. That's what the people said, that there would have been a looming problem had the president gone ahead to commission. But now that the president gave it a second thought, because this is constitutional, there are provisions that says that even if the current chief justice reaches the age of retirement, until the person phased out, until the current chief justice phased out, guys, I'm sorry, until she leaves office, she has all constitutional right to continue to oversee cases that are currently before. So in order to prevent you have two chief justices functioning, doing the same thing, fighting over cases, I think it was good that the president said, hey, let's give it a pause, reschedule this thing for a later day. When this later phase out, then we can commission you. I think it's good. And let us just agree that Front Page Africa was not in error. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, just to add, I think there was some conflict in the public when the Chief Justice turned 17 on June 26. So a lot of people felt that it was the time she should leave, she's supposed to leave office. But with the information provided by the president concerning this judicial canon 2, which I was sitting here didn't even know of.
Yeah.
I think it's very necessary for such public education. It was better that the president was properly advised about it, because he's not a lawyer too. So the legal team, including the president here, I know some things went behind the scene. He won't say here to inform them. Look,
I know he was involved.
Yeah, this is I believe that, but he won't say it because
I see.
I want to see his ass. Somebody will show him to be about
In fact, I'm very optimistic seeing this man on the Supreme Court bench before 2049. I see that happen very soon. I know that will happen.
Well, so it will be a good thing, you know. But what is important, what's the name again?
George.
Mr. Kennedy indicated judicial canon 2.
Yeah.
Most legal pundits will base an argument, or no, non-lawyers will base an argument on the Constitution that the president appoints, the Senate confirms, and then the president commissions.
Yeah.
But with this provision I'm making reference to in the judicial canon, that canon 2 provides that if that happens, where the president is commissioned, for instance, it means under whatever circumstance, you will not perform judicial functions, but you may perform administrative functions. What the Supreme Court has not done is to clearly delineate between those administrative functions provided for under the judicial canon and the judicial functions. So you understand what I'm saying to you? So the court or the canon introduced a tail layer or the last layer, which has to do with the formal sitting. And it goes on to say, in absence of that formal sitting, you can't take office, you can't assume office. So a lot more persons in the public don't understand this provision I'm citing here, the judicial canon. And I would like to see you guys read that provision and clearly explain. Maybe what we need to do, since this is purely legal in the purview of the Constitution of Liberia, we need to look at the methodology of reviewing and revising the judicial canon. That canon. Because if you are nominated by the president, confirmed by the Senate, and the president decides to commission you, I don't think there should be another
layer
Layer.
that would tend to, what can I say, regiment, the entire process or consummate the entire process. That process must be left in the commissioning process, but in the wisdom of the court, because like I said, when you are appointed to a judgeship in our profession, you are elevated to dignity.
Okay.
And maybe the introduction of judicial kind of 2 was done to delineate the judicial branch of government for other branches of government. Because normally we say, we are the one who can checkmate other branches of government with the power of judicial review bestowed upon the court by the 1986 Constitution and all of that. So maybe that was the reason. So we make our own very sacred. We make it more special to say, look, even if you are commissioned, there must be a sitting ceremony before you assume your judicial responsibility. So that is it. I don't want to say the Front Page Africa. I'm concerned about the broader public, perception about the entire process. And I think it was a good thing that the president decided to, because if you commission the has not left office, there could be some friction right there. And I think in the wisdom of the presidency, it was good to postpone this matter. So I think I think we should lay this issue to rest. There's no looming crisis over the judiciary. I think the incoming and outgoing are working together more politely, for a smooth transition process. And so there's no crisis actually.
So I would just want to know, August 15. I know the judicial canon is there. So does it set aside in a specific date to say this?
Any date after August 15 will be legal. Any date. We can say to you, the age of retirement is 70, but the effective date is the date upon which you vacate the seat. And so the effective date here, from what I understand, is going to be August 15.
So let me be hypothetical.
Yeah.
Let me say one of the justices reaches 70 in December, and it happens that he or she retires or approaching retirement, whatsoever, and then the president nominates or confirmation takes place. Which month would that judicial canon?
You see, the Honorable Supreme Court of the Republic of Liberia had 2 terms of court. We have the March term and we have October term.
Okay.
Only 2 terms of court.
Okay.
And so the date upon which you retire, when you reach 70, if there were cases that you started and you didn't end with your colleagues on the bench, the law provides that you may end those cases within the term, not outside the term, beyond the term. Beyond the next term. You cannot run into the next term because you already retired, but you may continue your cases until,
And I'm sure that what happening now
and that's what's
with the
happening
current
with
Chief Justice.
the outgoing Chief Justice.
So the word may in the Constitution as so
if you don't have cases, then you don't have to do anything. But if you have cases, you know that they're ongoing cases. I know that they are written opinions to hand down advance opinions. So normally there will be cases. The Supreme Court is quite preoccupied with many cases.
Yeah.
So I know Madam Chief Justice is sending a lot of cases. She has done her opinions, and the opinions will be handed down quite soon before she can formally leave on the effective date. And I say effective date of departure, August 15. Yes.
Okay, August 15. Yeah. Okay, so listeners and viewers, the National Bar Association has made a clarity right here that there's absolutely no constitutional crisis that's in the offing because the executive mansion, in fact, the presidency has already corrected that to avoid any constitutional crisis. So you can share the show more and more. Just go on your Facebook page and then you tap Nighttime Heat, the same as your YouTube page, and then you tap Nighttime Heat. We are also streaming live on Prom FM Monrovia 105.5 and Watch TV Liberia and Excellent Liberia TV are also streaming live this program tonight. Now, Mr. President, I'm sure we didn't call you only for this, but that was the major stuff. Yeah. But does the bar see any problem with the 1986 Constitution?
Well, that's a big question. I don't know the background for that question. I don't know what you mean by the bar. Constitutions are never free from inherent problems.
Okay.
I mean, you know how this Constitution came into being. Mm-hmm. It was the first republic for 130 years. 1847 Constitution, and then in 1980 we witnessed a brutal change of democratic governance, where the military junta took over, led by President Samuel Doe.
And so 130 years, that was the first republic we got used to the 1847 constitution. And then upon the ascendancy of the military junta, former interim president Edmund Sawyer, the late Dr. Edmund Sawyer, was appointed to chair a constitutional review committee in 1981. And then in 1983, I hope I'm correct, there was a constitutional conference to adopt a new constitution. And then in 1984, we had a referendum. And then in 1986, we had a new constitution. And so that constitution, in my wisdom, is not free from problems. There are provisions in that constitution that are yet to be implemented, which is troublesome. You may do the math in 1986 up to now. It's been how many years? I don't know, 30 some more years or something like that. You know, so there are many constitutional details that we as a nation state are yet to implement. So those could be the gray areas, if you ask me right now, as president of the bar and a legal professional, that I may have with the Constitution. You know, there are provisions that are yet to be implemented, and then there are provisions that have been abused by we members of the state, the subject of the state. And so our Constitution is not different from other constitutions that have, you know, that may have problems. So yes, there could be provision, I may not be specific, but I think generally, and I hope you don't go on to...
Should we rewrite the Constitution?
Well, I would say no.
No.
Yes.
Because the reason why I ask,
The
new associate justice is calling for that.
Well, I understand the exuberance of the new associate justice designate. He comes from law reform perspective, background. He may be frustrated with provisions of the Constitution, but if you look at the 1986 Constitution, we got to be mindful. We are lawyers here. The 1986 Constitution has no provision for repeal of the Constitution. The 1986 Constitution has no provision to rewrite the Constitution. However, on Article 91 to Article 93 of that Constitution, it provides for amendment of the Constitution. So, a court to rewrite that Constitution must be grounded in national consensus building, in democratic aspiration of members of the state, engaging civil society actors, and everyone. If you don't do that, and you just jump out to rewrite the Constitution, you may be wrong legally, because no law supports that. And I want to throw the public challenge out there. No law supports for a repeal of our Constitution. I'm citing Article 91 to Article 93. You can read it. You are a media investigative journalist. There's no provision in our 1986 Constitution that calls for rewriting the Constitution. However, maybe consistent with the doctrine of popular sovereignty, under Article 1 of the 1986 Constitution, you say power is inherent in the people. You may begin to do that. Even if President Boakai were to jumpstart such process, how does he start a process that is now founded in the Constitution? What is provided for, however, is amendment of the Constitution. No one has authority, not even the national legislature, to change any provision of that Constitution other than a referendum provided for under the Constitution of our country. So, like I said, I understand the frustration of Councillor Boakai, you know, because he been the Law Reform Commission chairman, he been dealing with all these different provisions. But I'm sorry to say that it will give a negative outcome, because it will not be provided and supported by law of the country. The Constitution that we have, the 1986 Constitution, doesn't have, and I want to throw an open challenge out there, any provision that speaks to a repeal and or rewriting of the Constitution. No provision. And I'm prepared for that debate if there are people who think otherwise. However, like I said, in Article 1 of the 1986 Constitution, when it provides the power is inherent in the people, maybe we can begin to do that, but there will be no clear-cut methodology. If the current president were to say, adhere to Councillor Kane's call, or other people who are calling for rewriting, what would be the reliance in the law? The only reliance we have under the 1986 Constitution is a reliance on Article 91. I think about the Constitution here, you can look at it, Article 91 and Article 93, that we can amend provisions of the Constitution that we think are obsolete and may not reflect contemporary
things.
I think your colleague was maybe he was intending to say amendment, but then he said
I think so.
Yeah,
because,
rewriting of the constitution.
because as a constitutional lawyer, international lawyer, I do a lot of research on these things. I can say to you, frantically, that there is no provision that calls for rewriting our constitution.
Okay, Moses,
It's only, and I'm saying this. This is public legal education. It is only provided for under Article 91 and Article 93 that calls for amendment. Of course, you know how amendment processes are done here. But if you were to make reference to recent processes of constitutional amendments, where a lot more prepositions have not even passed in referendum by Liberian people, then you want to rewrite the constitution. Before you think about rewriting the constitution, you may have a belief system that up to 95 or 90% of the provisions have become obsolete. Then that would be a compelling reason to profit.
And there's no belief system.
I don't think so.
Okay.
We may have sporadic issues with different provisions of the Constitution, but I don't think that would reach that level to say that we can rewrite the Constitution. Because firstly, and let me say cleverly here, I understand the frustration of my colleague, Councillor Kane.
The new associate justice.
I know he comes from, like I said, law reform background, so he's concerned about that, because normally he deals with most of these statutory laws and helping the legislature to, revise and amend statutory provisions. The Constitution is not like a statute. That is the organic law of the country.
Yeah.
If we had not had the 1980 coup that dissolved, suspended, dismissed our constitution, and dissolved the legislature, we would not be talking about the Second Republic, that gave rise in 1980 when the military took over. Are we praying for another coup d'etat? I would say no. Because that would be the only way that we'll have a change of the constitution. Because if the military takes over today, they will dissolve the legislature, dissolve the constitution, and the country will be led by decree, like the PRC did. So, as we speak, there may be multiple provisions, and I want to be clear.
Yeah.
There are multiple provisions under the Constitution that may be obsolete. But to call for rewriting the Constitution, then we must begin to find a law. Which law we can rely on to repeal the entire Constitution? Because it was as a result of the coup d'etat in 1980 that the 1847 Constitution was just dissolved and dismissed.
All right.
Are we craving for another coup? No. So to do that, I'm saying there's a doctrine under constitutional law that normally we call the doctrine of public sovereignty. And that doctrine is founded and grounded on Article 1, where it says power is inherent. That will be a conversation with civil society. That will be a conversation with national government, all major stakeholders, international partners, to say, look, this constitution, we've assessed this constitution, and we have a belief system that up to 90% of the provisions
are obsolete. They're outdated now.
Then we can begin now to build national consensus, democratic aspiration that will call for a repeal. But as we speak, let me say to you, and I want to provide this education to the public, that there is no provision on our constitution. However, there is a provision that calls for amendment of the constitution.
Now rewriting
the constitution.
So the National Bar Association has differed with the new Associate Justice Bokakane.
It's not that I'm just dismissing my colleague. I'm not just dismissing.
No,
I'm just saying
you did it with him.
I know, like I said, I share information because it comes from law reform background. But we got to be very circumspect when we're calling for repeal of the organic law of the country. There may be many, provisions that may not speak to current reality, but I think in moving toward rewriting or repeating the Constitution, let us go there with national consensus building, democratic aspiration, engaging everyone, all actors, to ensure that can be done.
Okay, Moses, you can come in quickly.
Yeah, quickly. Mr. President, let me just take off topic a little bit, and I would like to get your honest opinion, the opinion of the Bar Association on the nomination, confirmation of the current Chief Justice. There are people in Liberia, even abroad, who hold this view that the current Chief Justice's appointment, as far as they are concerned, is more like pay to play. When I say pay to play, meaning that pay to play, meaning that he's being rewarded He's been rewarded because of the controversial role that he played uh, in the leadership crisis in the House of Representatives. Uh, you live in Liberia, you follow it, you even made the Bar Association under your leadership took a position regarding the situation at the Capitol. We have the current Chief Justice who said, hey, everything that the quote unquote majority of people did then was considered illegal. When it was time for the Bill of Information hearing, the current Chief Justice, the confirmed Chief Justice, nominated Chief Justice, chose to walk back. He dispensed with what he said. He said, hey, even though I said before everything that those people did that did not conform to the laws of the country were all considered illegal, I'm not going to take a position. At the same, I don't agree with my colleagues. As president of the Bar Association, as a career lawyer, what's your thought? Do you think did it fair, to play? Was he being
Well,
rewarded for it?
to be very frank with you, Moses, I know what you're trying to draft at, and I can say to you that as national president of the bar, my primary responsibility is to protect my general membership. Councillor Bessie has practiced law for over 27 years in this jurisdiction. He is an outstanding member of the Liberia National Bar Association. Every lawyer, every practicing lawyer, consistent with our statutory laws and the Constitution, who has practiced law for more than 5 years as a counselor law, is a potential associate justice, is a potential chief justice, is a potential judge. So I would not lean on that premise that you just made, that Councillor Bessie, because of a dissent in the Bill of Information case involving the former speaker,
He has been awarded.
and he has been awarded. I don't have any evidence for that. If you follow the bar, or you have followed the bar, when he was nominated, we issue a statement to congratulate the president on his preferment and call for his switch confirmation. So I don't want to go there because I don't want to be dismissive of anybody. So does he deserve? Because this man says he sits on the bench as associate justice. He has been in practice for over 27 years. He's been relieving judge. He's been associate justice. Can we say here he's not competent to serve as chief justice? Any lawyer who is a counselor and has practiced for more than 5 years can be an associate justice, can be a chief justice. On the question of that subject matter that I don't want to delve into more extensively, because it's now history, it's now behind us. And as a matter of fact, Justice Bessie dissented. Was a dissent in the interest of the government that you're making reference to? Because when you dissent, which is in your purview as an associate justice, is to disagree with your colleagues on the basis of law. On the basis of law. So I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty of a dissent and the nitty-gritty of the majority opinion. But I think, given his extensive role he has played in the Bar Association, in the legal community, I think he is qualified, he's competent to serve as Chief Justice of the Republic of Liberia. Maybe we need to find out, but again, the reasons were even provided in a dissenting opinion as to why he disagreed with majority colleagues on the bench. So you can take a dissenting opinion and read it. In the wisdom of the president, under Article 54, is the only ultimate authority in this jurisdiction that can appoint public officials.
Okay.
It is only the Senate can say, no, Mr. President, we don't agree with you here and there. But the Senate, you can see even overwhelming 24 senators present in the session confirmed Justice Bessie. So you may have your role, your opinion on this matter, but I think the president operated in the confines of the Constitution, and let us see what Chief Justice Bessie will do to shift the court, realign the court, to restore public confidence in the court, to ensure that there's judicial integrity, to ensure that there's no political interference in the court system, to ensure that ethics will be upheld, to ensure that we can have
reform in the judiciary collectively. So let me not dismiss my colleague, he's a senior colleague, distinguished member of the bar, and that's why we've congratulated him on his preferment as Associate Justice of the Honorable Supreme Court. Well, there are librarians out there who may feel that he was paid because he dissented. Well, it's up to them. It is not within my purview to sit here and say, Justice Bessie was paid for what he did. I don't think so. I think we should give him deference because he's outstanding. He has practiced law in this jurisdiction. Today, we issue a statement to congratulate the president for the nomination of Councillor Boakai Kane, who is a prominent member of the bar. We've done so for Justice Bessie, and we think we can support them to ensure there are issues that bedevil the judiciary. Moses, the issue around integrity of the entire system, the issue around access to justice, the issue around the integrity and all the different assessments that have been done of the judiciary, for instance. And those assessments are pointed to different issues that bedevil the judiciary, like corruption, bribery, and all this. I think a new Chief Justice now will now decide to have a paradigm shift in elevating conversation on reform, making sure that there's confidence in the judiciary, because all these issues that we are hearing about mob justice all around the place. If you look at the source of mob justice, people will say because people have lost confidence in the judiciary. Some people will say because we had a warring situation here. As a result of the war, we have public health issues. People don't tend to respect rule of law. Today, if somebody snatches your phone away, what you want to do is to mob him to death or so. And this is a democratic setting. We must emphasize this, and in the absence of a vibrant rule of law system, there can be no way that we can enjoy sustainable peace. So I just want to say to you that I may not agree with you on that assertion that President Boakai paid Justice Bessie for the role he played in dissenting. That is the beauty of our profession. This is an Anglo-Saxon common law jurisdiction. You have to wait. If we're to go to court today, me and you, you have lawyer representing you have lawyer representing me. It is an adversarial system. So it's a beauty of our profession. Even myself, when I speak sometimes on behalf of a bar, there are lawyers who don't agree with me.
And we saw that.
But that's a beauty of our profession.
Okay.
So if some judge writes an article on a topical matter in the rural sector, if Councillor Varma does not agree with you, I must write my own and say no, I don't agree with someone on the basis of law. We've done it with the Supreme Court. Yeah, sure. Colleagues have done it with us. That's a beauty.
And you were beaten on very
well. I don't know what I was ever beaten because I was acting in the confines of the Constitution. I was never beaten by anybody.
No, but some of your colleagues now.
Well, people disagree with me, but nobody beat me because I didn't see one alternative right out to say this is what I did, and so people said this. This thing is evidence to the profession. If you say someone say this is black, I think it's not
write
your own. So you don't come and say I don't agree with somebody. So my brother Moses Sunday, I know you are a very tough individual. Let us not commit this process to say Justice Bessie was
rewarded.
Okay,
yes.
Councillor, I was here on this radio a few weeks ago, and I'm one of those who you talk about judicial reform, especially at a bench. I'm one of those who believe that the bench should be reformed. That should be reformed in the judiciary. So part of my thought was that look, Mr. President kindly appoint a vibrant lawyer from outside of the bench, someone who will go to be Chief Justice. Was that possible? Is that possible under the law?
It is very much possible. Okay. It is permissible.
Can you elaborate on that?
Article 54 of the 1986 Constitution is quite clear. That provision gives the ultimate authority to the president of the country to appoint all public officials, including judges, chief justices, associate justices of the Supreme Court. So, under the circumstance, His Excellency President Joseph Newman Boakai decided to appoint somebody from within. I don't know, and I may not know the reason for that, but you are a Liberian citizen, you've been following the trend of events in the judiciary. You may have your own issue. I talk about the loss of public trust in the judiciary, which is evidenced by different assessments of the judiciary. Is quite concerned about those issues, those challenges that bedevil the judiciary. We've been calling for reform. We've been collaborating even with the outgoing Chief Justice,
A 5-year strategic plan was launched some time ago by the outgoing Chief Justice. You hear about the construction of judicial complexes around the country. You hear about the appointment of female judges, magistrates around the country. And so, but we still think that access to justice remains elusive in the face of all of that. You may not have courts in certain parts of the country. And so those people may want to rely on customary justice, where you have the chiefs.
In the 21st century.
Well, yes, because you know why? Our constitution, the current constitution, bestows 2 legal systems. The formal legal system versus the customary system. The formal legal system, so to speak, is a system that deals with the courtroom, the court system, the infrastructure, the appointment of judicial actors, the disposition of cases in the court system. That is the formal system. And so it is our 1986 constitution that bestows the dual legal system on our country. And then you have on the other side the customary system, where then we don't have police officers. You may not have court complexes. But mind you, and what is important for the public to know here is that with all the support that the formal justice system has attracted, access to justice remains founded in the customary form of justice. And I don't know what I need to explain that. On the customary side, if you must have issue in Bapolo, will come on the Palaver Hall, the township will hear that matter and dispose of it in no time. But if you and I come to court today, you know that the processes, appeal processes, even if you go to ministerial court and then you go to the circuit court, you don't satisfy, you can still go to the Supreme Court.
People live frustrated.
So there is empirical evidence to suggest that 80 to 90% of dispute resolution mechanism have been carried out by the customary justice system. 80 to 90% with all the support, court system, building, Bapolo, Sano, Grand Crew, everywhere. Appointment of judges everywhere, but the customary form of justice, and that's why we called on our national legislature, because in the Constitution, Article 5, Article 65 of our Constitution, the legislature is mandated to promulgate rules to establish customary justice. So there is no parity between the formal justice system and the customary form of justice, because in fact, most of what we do under the customary system are not scripted. People just go by words of mouth and dispose of cases. Unlike the court system where you have a record system, you go to the circuit court, the civil law court, and then if you don't agree with land matter, the judge decides you can go to the Supreme Court. So that's where we need to call for reform that you're talking about. Ethical standards. If a lawyer misbehaves to his or her client, what can we do as a bar at the Supreme Court? Those are concerns that matter for us. There should be no selective justice. At the same time, we are quite concerned about the branches of government. We must checkmate the branches of government. We've said that over time. The bar under my leadership is doing that. So whenever the government does commendable things,
we'll commend it. Okay, let me ask you, Councillor Varma, will be opening the lines. Yes, Moses, coming quickly.
Just allow me to ask this question. Mr. President, let me pick your brain on this. Do you think in today's Liberia, we have a very powerful or an overpowerful executive branch of government? This question is predicated on the fact that you have a legislature that is headed by a member of the Unity Party, Speaker Kun comes from the Unity Party. You have a Senate Pro Tem who is also considered a friend of the president. Now you have the head of the judiciary, the Chief Justice, the newly confirmed Chief Justice, who is also a friend of the president. Doesn't this make the judiciary compromise? Doesn't this make the legislative branch of government compromise? Do we have an overpowerful executive branch of government in Liberia?
The issue of overpowerfulness of the executive branch of government is not for me and you to debate over. It's a matter that is bestowed by the 1986 Constitution. The president does all the appointments. He is a president. He appoints the Chief Justice and Associate Justice, the judges of court of records, specialized courts. He appoints everybody, ministers, members of the cabinet.
Yeah.
So Maybe those who are calling for, reshaping the constitution will back your argument that I don't know how you will even do that. Because even if you look at the 1847 constitution, it wasn't quite different, although there are marked differences between the 1847 constitution and the 1986 constitution. But what matters for me most as a professional librarian is the issue of legacy, Moses. Wherever you sit in the United States of America, whatever role you play there, you must be concerned about legacy. Whenever you take leadership, that leadership must be complemented by a cogent legacy. President Bouakai is president of the country today. When he leaves power, whatever time you leave power, whether after 6 years or you go for re-election, if he wins or so, he must be concerned about legacy. His legacy as president of this country. You talk about Richard Kuhn, he's speaker. Whatever way he got to the speakership, he must be concerned with what he will leave when he leaves that position tomorrow. So that's my concern. Today I'm president of the bar. I promised members of the bar the last electoral process that I would do X, Y, and Z. And they are holding me to that. So for me, I don't want to delve into the sentimental aspect of this debate. But the president will always appoint a chief justice. Whether you, Moses Sunday, become president tomorrow, you appoint a chief justice. And if you have a role to push your friend to become speaker, you will do that, you, Moses Sunday.
Your close friend.
Your close friend. Because you want some form of protection.
Yes.
But for me, what is important, your functional roles and responsibility bestowed upon you by the Constitution and laws of the country must be adhered to, must be implemented. That's my concern. So I don't want to say President Bouakai Frank has been appointed. Chief Justice Bessie is a dignified member of the bar. Is he not concerned about his legacy? The time you're going to serve as Chief Justice, he will be concerned to please President Bouakai. Are we suggesting here that all the cases that will go before Justice Bessie and the bench will be political driven cases? Is that what we want to envision here? I would say no. There will be time for political intervention, yes, of course. And the court has a role to play. That is the only branch of government that has a responsibility, and it has just responsibility to do judicial review of everything in our country. So your responsibilities remain sacred. So will you veer off the substance of a responsibility to please President Bouakai as a professional person, professional lawyer? I would say no. Where I sit, I'm national president of the bar. I'm concerned about the general welfare of the members of the bar. I'm concerned about my legacy when I leave the presidency of the bar. So tomorrow people will say when he was president, national president of the bar, this is what he did. This is what he achieved. And I want people to grade me on my performance. Not because I have alliance with President Bouakai or I have alliance with Richard Kuhn or I have alliance with Moses Sunday. The authoritative nature of the presidency or the imperialist nature of the presidency was not done by any individual, but by the Constitution that says the president shall appoint S, Y, and Z. The president shall commission S, Y, and Z. So I don't want to do my argument on the basis of sentimentality, but on the basis of the fundamentals. So if you are a leader, we will hold you accountable for what you do. Posterity will judge you. It's not your connection with President Bouakai or whoever. President George, we are appointed Chief Justice, Associate Justices here, judges of Court of Records. It will always happen. It always happens. So I think our argument should be based on proficiency, productivity, and what posterity will judge you by if you vacate the position. That should be the argument that we take here. And our argument should be much more fundamental than sentimental.
Okay. Yes.
So let's look at judicial review. I don't know if I'm using the right term. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a media man, right? Not even a court reporter. But most of the times, some people may suggest that, may perceive that, some of the rulings from the court may be wrong. They are humans, right? Sometimes they err. But those rulings from the Supreme Court becomes like law until the legislature passes a law to correct. Because those rulings references will all be made to those rulings to affect other rulings in the future.
You're talking about precedents?
Yeah, precedents, if they are not corrected. I want to know the bar position on this number of judicial review.
There's nothing we can do about that because, again, the Constitution has bestowed upon the judiciary the highest authority, and that's the highest authority that the judiciary has, or that court, the Supreme Court, making reference to, the power and authority to do judicial review. There's no branch of government that can look at the activities in other branches and say you are wrong. Or
You won't say you are wrong. But you could make you could make law that
yes,
the
that's
legislature.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So we think the Supreme Court, and anyone who has followed me in this country know that I can be critical
I know.
on rulings of the Supreme Court. It's not because the Constitution has said that the Honorable Supreme Court is a final arbiter. So it means that whatever thing they say may be correct. Whatever thing the Supreme Court says is final and must be implemented.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that it is right
Yeah.
in the ambit of the law. So you have a right as an individual lawyer to disagree respectfully with the Supreme Court on the basis of the law. But then they say, oh, what the court said, we can't accept it.
Can't accept it, no.
You understand what I'm saying to you? You may disagree with the Supreme Court. If you think you have sufficient reason legally to disagree professionally with the Supreme Court, you may disagree respectfully, professionally, but you must adhere to the ruling and decision of the Honorable
And
Supreme
the court cannot punish you for
No, court should not punish you.
disagreement.
When you don't do it in a degrading manner, the court should not punish you. You can differ. You can say, no, you said that this is so, but I think it's so. You do it, and we've encouraged that. I was inducted by Her Honor, the Chief Justice, in January. And if you listen to my inaugural speech, I said, henceforth, all branches of government will be checkmated to ensure whether or not those branches are in conformity with the Constitution. President Boubacar was my induction, my keynote speaker, and the Chief Justice was my instructing officer. So you can imagine I brought everybody in the same room to talk about this. This is our country. We cannot veer off the substance of this country. This is a democratic setting, and every democracy has tenets. So if you come to observe that, say, the executive branch of government is not adhering to rule of law, no warfare here. Speak out your mind. Disagree with Mr. President. If Mr. President does things that you must commend him. So that's why we've kept the bar afloat. We've kept the bar independent, and the bar is not a politically driven institution. And so we'll continue to. So if we disagree with Mr. President, we disagree with the Chief Justice, if we think the Chief Justice decision or the court decision is not in conformity with the law. So that's just simple. And like I said, it is a common law jurisdiction.
So that's where my
it
question
happens
comes
in America. When the federal Supreme Court hands down opinions, the American Bar Association subject those opinions to public debate. It doesn't mean that the ABA is not accepting the validity of those decisions, but you may differ with the federal Supreme Court. Even the president, Joe Biden, President Trump now, may disagree with the Supreme Court. Anybody can disagree with the Supreme Court, but do it respectfully in the ambit of the law. And that's the beauty of our profession.
So, Mr. President, this is where my next question comes. I will have to open the lines quickly. What is the bar's analysis of this current administration adherence to the rule of law?
Rule of law is evolving. I can say to you that the rule of law is evolving. There are issues that we are quite concerned about. I've said over time, because I'm a media-friendly person, that rule of law is evolving. Access to justice remains elusive. How do you call the agenda? Is that the arrest agenda of the current administration? I raised fundamental issue with Mr. President, and we had to discuss it more frantically, that the Bar Association, that is the competent authority to enhance rule of law, was not a part of the process that formulated the arrest agenda. And there's a pillar in the agenda that calls for rule of law. How can you be talking rule of law and leave out the Bar Association? But we sorted that out. But the president has to show me that going forward, every time the bar will be consulted, and we'll begin to make strides, because we think any government that comes to power in this country and try to ostracize the Bar Association is the competent authority on rule of law, you can improve anything. There are things we do. We have legal aid clinics in some parts of the country. We need support, because there are people who may not have money to go to indigent clients all around the country. Our bar, since UC was here some time ago and helped us to establish the clinics, we sustained that project to enhance access to justice. So if you ask me about access to justice, I think they say elusive. There are many parts of the country that don't have court system, don't have police officers. People are still relying on customary justice, but that is the form of justice that is not being supported. And that's why we are calling on the legislature that is mandated by the United States Constitution to find a way to promulgate rules that will establish customary justice. Are we there?
No. In the face of a usage shutdown, we now have issues even in the bar. We don't have support to enhance access to justice in all parts of Liberia. I was just in Wanyama the other day to launch a legal aid clinic on behalf of the local bar association. Very big country. We're talking about Nimba. We're talking about other parts of Liberia. And that's why we want healthy conversation to be agenda between the bar and the current leadership. So we can talk rule of law. We can talk access to justice. So we are getting there. But I can tell you, access to justice remains quite elusive in the face of the multiplicity of issues that bedevil our rule of law system. I'm happy, and I must say here, taking from the words of the outgoing Chief Justice, since the Financial Autonomy Act was done in 2006, it was this year that act was fully supported and operationalized with setting aside funding for the judiciary.
Okay.
And that's why, some time ago I called for comprehensive audit. I say financial autonomy must come with comprehensive audit of the judiciary, all of that. So I don't want to grade the current government, say 80%, 90%, or 0%, but I can tell you that access to justice remains quite elusive and will continue to remain engaged with the current government to ensure, because we said, in the absence of a vibrant rule of law regime, which means if you have issues, you go to court.
Yeah.
Mob justice cannot be the way forward in our jurisdiction. Judges must not rely on anyone. If people out there find that lawyers they commit ethical transgression, you bring their complaints to the bar or the Supreme Court, we investigate them and take action against them. We must ensure that we engage with all bar associations outside Liberia. Like currently, I said as also president of the West African Bar Association. So I now work in the 15 countries in the sub-region. This is the first time a Liberian lawyer has ascended to such position. So it means that Liberia is.
So how are you managing it?
Well, we are navigating very well. The other one, we have a vibrant secretary in Abuja. So I go there and come back, and it doesn't call for me to be there every day. So I want to go for executive committee meetings and then talk to bar association. We have presidents in all the countries. We have issue. I know recently you follow the issue with the suspension of the chief justice in Ghana. Mm-hmm. We have issues relating to member states of ECOWAS refusing to implement rulings and decisions of the ECOWAS Committee for Justice is a matter of concern for WABA, the West African Bar Association. So the same issues that bedevil Ghana, Sierra Leone, and other countries in the region are the same issues that bedevil other countries. So I think collaboration, continuous engagement with the current government will suffice. We're calling for subsidy, for instance, because access to justice is no child play, especially in the face of this usage shutdown. I mean, everybody, like the bar, the only source of our income is our dues that we pay and levies that we impose on our membership. And mind you, we are doing our best at level of the bar. We have improved transparency and accountability at level of the bar. You may have heard that we are now trying to complete the first phase of our project, our headquarters project on the Ralphie Highway. The ground floor will be dedicated soon. A lot more. Myself need to go out and look for opportunities. I've been invited by the New York Bar to go to the United States to explore avenue for Liberian lawyers. We're looking for exchange program. We are now working with the University Administration to have a new dean of the Louis Underground School of Law. We are working with a new law school that was started by my brother Kwame Clement and others.
Yeah.
So a lot more is taking place, but I don't want to attach grading to rule of law because I think it's quite elusive. We're not there yet. We are trying our best. And that's why the bar will be engaged with the government and other government that will even come after Joseph Boakai, President Joseph Boakai, to ensure that the rule of law is enhanced in our jurisdiction.
You seem to be working hard. I'm calling Moses. Yes, go ahead, Moses.
Yeah, quickly, Mr. President, you have used the word elusive consistently. Anyone listening to you will want you to be able to quantify. Can you tell us, just by adding a few numbers that are measurable, when we talk about rule of law in Liberia, where will you put Liberia on that map in terms of numbers? Let's do the projection from 1 to 10. Where will you put Liberia in terms of rule of law?
I think we say around 5 or so. And why do I say so? The issues that bedevil us at the nation state are issues that have since bedeviled us before even the government came to power. So
You may not say it's because of the behavior of the current regime that we have. The issues have existed before. I talk about the issue of customary justice. It's an old issue. The legislature need to take some form of responsibility. The 1986 Constitution has since mandated the legislature to promulgate rules of serving customary justice. We're not there yet. I said to you, customary justice accounts for 80 to 90% of dispute resolution mechanism in our country. Unlike the formal system, the courtroom process that drags the cases. And that's why other people are calling for the third layer. Because the two layers are the formal justice system and the customary formal justice. There are the two layers we have now. The third layer that some of us are pushing will be the alternative dispute resolution mechanism. If me and you have issues, Moses, and we don't want to revert to the court system, we can revert to the ADR process. Other arbitration, mediation, conciliation, and whatever comes out of that process will become binding on the party. You don't have to go to court. It's a process that is being utilized in Sierra Leone, Ghana, Nigeria, and other countries in West Africa. So Liberia does not have a holistic ADR mechanism process. I know the Minister of Justice, former Minister Musa Dean, will try to push that with the Bar Association and the International Development Organizations, but we're now trying to adopt a formal legal framework that calls for a formal ADR mechanism that will be considered as a third layer of justice in our country. Okay. So the government may be doing well. Now, with the fact that they have a pillar on the arrest agenda on rule of law, I think there's an inclination to do well in the rule of law sector. But we must remain engaged and identify the challenges, the pitfalls. And so only a collaborative mechanism will ensure that rule of law is enhanced. We're looking for support. And we think we can even get support from the government of Liberia. I talk about access to justice in the counties. We have legal clinics. We don't have support. The bar is struggling with those clinics. And
there I wanted to come in when it comes to support. Is it a good idea, probably, I don't know, that the legislature, or would it be a good idea for the legislature to make budgetary allocation to the bar?
I think so. I'm well traveled. I've traveled to many countries around the world in this rule of business. I'm now president of the West African Bar Association, so I know the issues very well. The bar is quite independent. The bar will remain to be independent. It's not even when the government begins to give us subsidies, will compromise our independence. The bar was established through an act of the Liberian legislature in 1907. 1907. What that means, if you're giving subsidies to flour, Linsu, and other major organizations here, I think begin to have the inclination that the bar can get some benefit from the government of Liberia. It has nothing to do with our independence, so it will not be a bad idea. In fact, as national president, I have started a conversation with the presidents of this country and some other relevant individuals in the legislature to ensure that the bar can begin to get something. There's nothing wrong with that, because I can say to you, if the bar is not quite in power to push all these parameters on rule of law, the government itself cannot do it. The government itself cannot do it. So we think support to the bar in the form of subsidy.
Is that similar practice?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. This is a small bar. We're talking about 1,500 membership, and the only time we get money annually, legally, is the dues that we collect from our membership. How can you run a bar just on dues?
Does the government of Sierra Leone,
yes, of course. We talk to our colleagues to get some subsidies from those governments, so there's nothing wrong. Well, if you look at our bar, it was established through an act of the Liberian legislature. So why not support? But the bar, in the 130 years or some other years in the First Republic, the bar was headed by people in government and all this stuff. Richard Henry, Chad D.B. King, all those people were put on the bar, But now the paradigm has shifted now, So we will become national president, may not have money to do anything. So we rely on the dues we collect on our membership, and we think the government must come in very strongly because that's the only way rule law will be enhanced. You're not doing it for Council of but you're doing it for Liberian people because we need rule law. In the absence of a vibrant rule law system, there can be no way you can have sustainable peace and democratic system in our country.
Okay, Moses, come in. I'm quickly. We have to open the lines.
I just want to make a very important comment. Mr. President, I'm a little bit troubled when I hear you talk about singing monetary support for the bars from the national government. Monetary support from government. The National Bar Association, I'm not a lawyer. You, President, you know it better than I do. when you begin to take monetary support from the government, won't that create ethical problem for the Bar Association? Won't that compromise the neutrality of the Bar Association when it comes to issues regarding the dispensation of justice in Liberia?
My brother,
Yes.
I don't shy away from public debate. I'm the current national president of the bar, and my aspiration, my belief system is to remain engaged with the government of Liberia for subsidies. It has nothing to do with the independence of the bar. It can never undermine the independence of the bar. And I think because of the fight, and I just indicated to you, I don't know why you know that, Moses, that the bar was established through an act of the Liberian legislature. So we deserve subsidies from the government of Liberia. It has nothing, I will push that. Anybody who want to engage me in public debate, well, I'm ready for that. Let us debate it. There are issues that we need to take on. We can't take on those issues because we don't have money. We don't have money. And it has nothing. Lawyers are the most critical man, the cream de la cream of any society. You think that if the government gave 100,000 or 200,000 or so they support a particular project, it means that I will independently compromise. Most of us say no to you. You were here in the press union and LBS, and you don't went through that before. So I'm saying to you, we need that form of support because we were greatly supported by international development organizations, especially in the face of a usage shutdown. We are now saying our national government must do some form of support to the bar. So it's one debate I am introducing as a national president.
So
And I said this in my report at the assembly, I come in Moses, at the assembly of the bar, and I remain unbendable and unwavering. The fact that the bar was established through an act of the national legislature, nothing will suffice to indicate that the bar will get compromised because we get support from the government of Liberia. We need that. There's a lot more we need to do. We can help the government, we can help the people of this country. The reason why I said to you, so some of the government I feel in the rural sector because they have not been able to place premium on the rule of the Liberia National Bar Association. That's a competent authority. We here we can checkmate everybody. We here can go out there and provide legal education. The role of bar in the 2023 national elections was unprecedented. It was inaugural because of our awareness program that was supported by the UNDP. The impact of that project, that electoral project that was supported by UNDP, the Supreme Court, the outgoing Chief Justice, affirmed this position that because of that campaign that we initiated to do public legal education on the entire electoral process in 2023, the Supreme Court was now overwhelmed with multiplicity of cases. So there's critical role that the bar has to play in all of this. So we think if the bar begin to get some support from the national government, it has nothing to do with undermining its operational independence.
So I want to be a little bit hypothetical.
We'll have to open it up. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Moses wants to come back.
Let me just call, I beg you, Kennedy. Also,
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, let's flip the ball around. Will you also propose that the press union of Liberia begin to receive budgetary allocation from the Liberian government?
I cannot speak for the press union. The press union has its own leadership.
I'm talking about independence and neutrality.
But Moses, now I must advocate for my own professional institution. The president has leadership. The president fees. I know the president will give me some 100,000 now before by Allen Johnson. So if not so, to build some headquarters project. I don't know that, right? The very early Salif government promised $100,000 when we were doing soil cutting or what they call ground breaking for our headquarters project. So no matter how you put it, once you know yourself to be a cogent professional membership organization that has value system, a belief system to drive this country forward, you will not go and compromise your independence for a few dollars. So there's no issue with that. The president feel that you can get money from the government, but then do it. Okay. Now you have a mandate to achieve, remain within the confines of the mandate.
And just to add to the press union own, the press union Liberia does not run media institutions.
Mm-hmm.
Media institutions are owned by either journalists or business people or politicians. So the press union of Liberia is just there to provide leadership, to make sure that the code of conduct, the code of ethics of journalism is followed. So it is not a wrong thing for the press union of Liberia, for the government of Liberia to give subsidies to the press union of Liberia. I'm one of those who are advocating for that, and I want to use this medium to advocate for it. Just how I brought the issue of the LMBA.
I think it's necessary for the government of Liberia to finance the RMBA.
Yes.
Okay. In my opinion, as a journalist.
The taxpayer money.
Yeah.
And anybody personal money.
They were created by an act of the legislature.
Thank you.
Definitely they should be supported.
Okay, so gentlemen, let's start opening lines quickly. Briefly, 0778-460-793. Again, 0778-460-793. Better still, 0886-540-987. The first call on this line is David Cody. Mr. Cody, let's hear from you quickly.
Thank you. I'll be very brief. Mr. President, good evening, my good friend and brother, long time no see. I support the government giving.
Is he a nephew again?
He's my big brother.
Is he a nephew?
My cousin.
Okay, let's hear from you quickly.
Okay, Mr. President, I just have a few questions here. Number one, please run us through the workings of the various courts that we have around here, the circuit court, the magistrate court, what are their functions, the duties and functions. And number two, who takes a case to the Supreme Court? Which cases are heard by the Supreme Court? You know, sometimes I hear that an individual can go to the Supreme Court, and please run us through. But I'd like to stop there. And
okay.
Many thanks for your ascendancy to the president of the West African Bar Association. That's good for Liberia. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you, Mr. Cody. Let's get another call on the line quickly. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Patrick T. calling from Benson Street.
Let's hear from you, Pat.
I want to say kudos to the Council of East here, for a very analysis he made this evening. But I have a little when it comes to some discussing the legal issue within the ecology of Liberia. So I'll go to the 1986 Constitution, Article 65 of the 1986 Constitution, says that the judicial power of the Republic shall be vested in a Supreme Court. Right? Now, all the other court in this country is on the Supreme Court of Liberia. So now, this is where I have a doubt in. The doubt I have is about the World Economic Council that we established, that the president is about to establish. Now, if the World Economic Council will be established, will it be working on the Supreme Court or it will work along with the Supreme Court of Liberia? But now there's a legal issue.
Okay.
In the Supreme Court, invested in let's say the Supreme Court is the judicial power of all Supreme Court of Liberia. So this is a legal issue. I don't want to clarify.
Yes, you respond to that. Let's get another call.
And also when it comes to criminal code C, the economic code. Right? So do you think the president can take the economic code to carry along with the criminal code C because let me ask a question. It happened, my brother, that recent time that she was invited by the criminal code A. You have asked everything about story recovery, and she was invited. She was almost saying in jail, and she was fighting by the former president. So you don't think the economic code can come on this criminal code issues? Criminal code to start the work along way. We commit something good.
Okay, you make a point. Let's get another call on the line quickly. Good evening. Hello, 0778 460-793. Again, 0778-460-793. Good evening.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Victor.
Let's hear from you quickly.
Yeah, my name is Emmanuel Jerry. I'm calling you from the township of West Point.
Okay.
My question to the Vice President in studio, Mr. Obama. I want to know what's the Vice position or what his own personal position if he's not in the capacity to speak for the bar now. What is his own personal position or the bar position? As it relates to the police director action or as it relates to the traffic management stuff. Dissolving the Ministry of Transport and transferring that statutory body to a private company, a Lebanese company. What's the bad thing?
Okay. Okay, you made your point. He's taking note. Let's take another call on the line quickly. Good evening.
Good evening, Sabo.
Yes, sir. Let's hear from you.
So, I'd like to start by appreciating you, Sabo, Moses, and Kennedy for going judiciary this evening. I mean, the politics have been too huge in our country, and bringing an astute
lawyer, president of the Bar Association, and West Africa Association president, I think I'd like to commend you guys, the hosts, so we can talk judiciary. It's not all the time we'll talk capital building and political and what have you. I want to thank you, all the panelists. But I got one question for, my name is Puni.
Yeah, no.
This is Puni.
Long time.
There's an irresistible Puni. I speak from Bushwa Island. I got one final question for you. In your accounts, in your narration, you're talking about the current government not consulting the bar in drafting its framework and a policy to move the country forward. I'd like to know what any other government, whether Mr. Salif, whether George Weah, in drafting the party agenda framework in order to move that country forward. Is it a usual habit? Has it consulted the bar before? Or which government have consulted? Is it a practice? I'd like to thank you in drafting their policy and agenda for the country.
Okay.
My name is Pony, and thank you, sir.
Many thanks, Pony. 0778 460 793. Again, 0778 460 793. Or better still, 0886 540 987. 0886 540 987. Or 0778 460 793. That's the number to call. And of course, our guest here tonight is the president, the national president of the National Bar Association. He's our guest tonight, trying to make us understand some of the legal issues. 0778 460 793. In the meantime, Councilor Varma can be responding to the few questions I have.
Well, my dear brother David Cody, my big brother, and he wants to know the functional responsibilities of the court system. Mr. Cody, we have the magisterial code, which is the first code of instance. Then from there, we have the circuit courts that you can go to midway to the Supreme Court. If you agree, when you take a matter to the circuit court level, whether criminal or civil, and then you don't satisfy with the ruling or decision of the circuit court, you may file an appeal with the Honorable Supreme Court. The laws of the country provide that the Supreme Court has inherent jurisdiction over all constitutional matters. But there are other matters that may originate from the magisterial courts, and those matters go through the circuit courts, and of course the matters are landed before the Supreme Court on appeals. So that is it actually. So
okay, let's take this call up. Let's take this call up just 1 minute quickly. Good evening.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Let's hear from you quickly.
Yeah,
hello?
Yeah, good evening. How you doing?
I'm okay. Let's hear from you. Go ahead.
Okay, this is Arizona. We are calling you from Bonaville.
Okay.
My concern has been drawn over the time of doing the on-mail time. The on-mail, normally they used to visit the various prison and police station. But for people who are there for minor cases, you understand, they are there for, because they lost it 48 hours. And there are people who there beyond that 48 hours to police station. What is the bar doing in terms of monitoring those, police station and prison compound in terms of those, who rights are being violated? What is the bar's stand, their intervention in terms of alleviating those people?
Okay. 0778 460 793. Better still, 0886 540 987. That's the number to call. Yes, Councilor, it can be going on.
So then there was another caller who wanted to know the implication of the law insofar as the establishment of a war on economic crime code is concerned. Well, my brother, I agree with you. Article 65 is quite clear on the authority of the Supreme Court as being an appellate court in the jurisdiction. But you know that Liberia acceded to many international protocols. And so this issue of a war on economic crime code is actually beyond our borders. People who committed genocide in our country, people who committed human rights violation during the civil conflict, atrocities committed during the civil conflict are the ones we are talking about here. And those crimes were not only committed against Liberia, but the international community, because Liberia has acceded to many international instruments. So as such, there are discussions in place right now to discuss the model of the code that will be established, whether it's going to be hybrid code, whether it will be special code. And if it's a special code, then of course, it will have limited role to do with this, Article 65 of the 1986 Constitution. So it means that we will be operating under the international system, under an international model that will call for other Liberian characters and international character. That's what they call the hybrid code. So discussions are taking place to see what can be done. I know we not settle on a model. We're not settled on the model yet because the bar is a major stakeholder in all of these processes, but we're not settled on the model yet. But we think most likely we're going to have a hybrid form of code established to address atrocities, to bring closure to atrocities committed during the civil conflict.
Okay.
And the issue of the Ministry of Transport, I don't want to give an authoritative position on that subject matter because I'm still trying to of the issue at the Ministry of Transport. For what I know is that I think there's a plan by the government to outsource certain functional responsibilities of the Ministry of Transport. My caution here as a legal practitioner is a caution of government to ensure that it be done through a transparent process, it be done consistent with the laws of our country. I understand some of our people are demonstrating and protesting, but again, let me understand the nitty-gritty before I can begin to make any public statement on this subject matter. Puni wanted to know whether it's a practice for government. Puni, yes, governments are supposed to remain engaged with major stakeholders. The bar is a major stakeholder in this jurisdiction. So there is no way, especially where this government has a pillar on rule of law, and then you don't include the bar. And so what I said to you, that matter is sorted. We've engaged the presidency. That matter is sorted. The president has assured the bar association are going forward. He's going to revert to us from time to time on all rule of law matters. So that matter is sorted. We had the same issue with the past government and other government. There are government, for instance, President Salif, who allowed the bar association to vet on the question of judicial appointments. President Salif will allow the bar to vet a pool and then submit that pool to her office, and then she will make the ultimate decision to appoint judicial actors. We are encouraging this president to continue to do that, and I think we are on course with that. Let me say here to the public that we'll be involved with one or two consultative processes that led to recent appointment in the judiciary, and we hope that will continue to take place, from time to time. What we're doing with police stations, my brother, we are concerned about access to justice. From where I sit, I am going to shortly assume my role as the chair on the Civilian Complaint Review Board of the Liberian National Police as national president of the bar, which is statutory. It means that I'm going to be working in close concert with the police in addressing professional issues in the police, in addressing complaints emanating from the public against police officers. And so we can assure the public that we will do that expeditiously. The bar is concerned about seconding some of its members to magisterial courts and police station just to monitor the process. Some time ago, the Honorable Supreme Court withdrew all public defense attorneys from magisterial courts across the country. We are looking for money to assign members of the bar at magisterial courts to ensure that people coming with different issues, people who are arrested, can be assisted by the bar. We hope to do that. And so the bar is trying its best, and we rely on you, the public, to make us stronger. Why do I say so? Those of you who go there to hire lawyers, members of the bar, to take on your cases, the first thing I want to say to you, we have a regimentation in the bar that calls for licensing regime. Every practicing lawyer in this jurisdiction must be licensed by the Liberian National Bar Association per annum. So if you are going out there to hire a lawyer to take on your case, the first question fundamentally that you may want to ask that lawyer is to find out whether or not that lawyer has a valid license issued by the Liberian National Bar Association. If that person does not have lessons, please go away from that person. You may think that person is a professional lawyer, but that person could destroy your case. Your case could be worth more than $10 million, because if a lawyer objects to that person's representing you because he or she doesn't have lessons to practice before the court system, that person will not be allowed.
Is it a new measure?
No, it's an old measure.
Okay.
It's an old measure. You must be licensed before you practice.
Some people think 1 year is very short.
No, we do 1 year, we do per annum. It's renewed. So you must pay your bar dues. You must not have been involved in ethical transgressions. You must uphold the professional standards of the Bar Association. We look at you and then we issue you a new lesson. And we issue lessons to the Chief Justice, Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. It means that this is a very powerful regime that we have just to manage our professional system, our legal system. So we want the public to help us. If you see that a lawyer engages in ethical transgression, nothing should stop you from reverting to the bar and or the Supreme Court. I've talked to the incoming Chief Justice. It's one aspect that we are concerned about. We're going to collaborate the bench and the bar. We're going to strengthen our collaboration to ensure that rule of law is enhanced. There is a lot more perception out there about the profession, that there's public trust in the profession. All that we can do, our actions must now be taken in that direction. Our actions must be proactive and professional to ensure that people, the public again, will begin to trust the justice system of our country, the court system. And so we will continue to talk that, but you must be able to invoke the law on ethical transgression in the profession. Then we come in as an institution to remedy such concerns.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bondo Varma, Councillor Varma, Mr. President, National President. Any other questions, gentlemen, so we can let him go? Any other questions? Moses?
Well, not ready.
Let me take this caller. Let me take this caller.
Sure.
Let me take this caller. Good evening.
Sobo.
Yes, sir.
My apologies for the dominance, but Mr. Varma has done very well. This is Puni again. I'm sorry for the dominance, but he has done exceptionally well. But the final question just clicked to my mind. Lawyers, licensed lawyer with unwholesome practices, unethical. Why say that the bar don't publish their names so the Liberian people? I can't tell what the Liberian people so we can know them. And lastly, there was a lawyer called Wabudike. During the Joshua one in the Busi Wabudike, I don't know you were this bar or you were bar. Is he practicing again? My apologies for the dominance. This is funny. Thank you.
Okay, let's get to the caller.
Whatever appear on.
Let's get to the caller, sir, before you can come in. Good evening.
Sobo.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, sir.
So to where Puni stopped, let me just continue with the last question he asked. I also want to know the status of Wabudike now in Liberia. Mr. President of the Nigeria Bar Association, over time I have followed you, and I think you're one of our country's first legal luminaries. It's a good thing. You know, in 2009, 2010, when former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was, I think it was about to appoint, the Chief Justice at that time. The Liberia Bar Association held a convention in Grand Bassa County. I can still remember them. Then the bar recommended 3 persons, to the president, for the president to select anyone as Chief Justice. One person was the current Chief Judge of the Commercial Court, Judge Ita Mappy Morgan. The next person was Francis Cockwell, and I think one other judge from the very Grand Bassa County. Is it prudent that the president seek advice from the Liberia Bar Association before appointing a Chief Justice? Thank you.
That's how it's supposed to be. But again, our limitation is another in the state constitution that gives all the authority to the president to appoint public officials, including Chief Justice, Associate Justices. That's our limitation. But traditionally, it is prudent. Like you said, Madam Ellen Johnson did it. President Weah did it insofar as the appointment of the labor court judge was concerned. But he didn't do it on many instances. And we're looking forward to this president to collaborate with the bar more closely. We know that ultimately the president has the responsibility to appoint public officials, but when it comes to the judiciary, when it comes to the legal profession, we think the bar is the most competent authority. We will know our members who are integrous. We know our members who have not engaged ethical transgressions. We know our members who are in good standing. So if you allow us to vet, we have a judiciary committee in the bar. That committee is comprised of former associate justices, chief justices, judges, and outstanding lawyers. That committee's responsibility is normally to vet, judicial appointments. We allow that committee to vet, say, 5 names or 3 names, and then forward those names to us as national leadership, and then we forward to the office of the president. The president can ultimately now look among the 3 and decide
who is appointed, and that's what we are encouraging. But like I said to you, our limitation is the 1986 Constitution that gives all the authority to the presidency to appoint public officials. But we are moving in that direction, because you may appoint a member of the bar that is not competent, that has integrity issues. And so what happens tomorrow if that person begins to falter? If that person begins to falter, you say the bar association will say, no, Mr. President, when you're appointing your judicial official, you never reverted to the bar. Yeah. So we do that out of respect. We do that out of traditional courtesy to talk to the presidency to say, no, Mr. President, please allow us to help you, to give you the best that you can select from. Okay. On the Wamandigi situation, Kuni, Wamandigi remains expelled. And that is clear. I've been asked questions consistently. There was an issue that went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court handed down a judgment with our opinion, and they wanted us to rescind our decision. But it still remains a collective decision of the Bar Association, either at the convention, which is the highest decision-making organ of the bar, to say, look, we can restore the rights of Wamandigi. Until that can be done, Mr. Wamandigi remains expelled. On the question of integrity and upholding tenets that border on ethics, you, the members of the public, need to invoke the law. You need to say to all, this particular lawyer has committed, in your wisdom, ethical transgression. And then you revert to us or the Supreme Court, and then we investigate. If that person is found wanting of what you have indicated, we will take action. The action will lead to suspension, expulsion, and disbarment. We'll go to Supreme Court and call for disbarment. So that is it, actually. So we want you out there to checkmate the performance of lawyers. Because if you don't do that, we don't know the issues. You don't just sit to your house and say, oh, the legal profession. If you go to a court and a judge solicits bribery from you, revert to us. Revert to us, and you see what can be done. Okay. But if we're not conversing with the issue, we don't know what the complaints are. How do we take siege of the matter? How do we investigate and recommend sanctions?
Okay, Mr. President. Moses and Josh, do you have final questions who can ask, and then you answer them with a lot.
Finally, just about Mr. Wanabuki. Since he was expelled, does it mean that he stays barred? That's
effectively what it means. Okay. The bar is a owner organization. The Supreme Court doesn't give you license to practice.
Okay.
It is only the bar that can give you license to practice. So Supreme Court can say, of course, what I say again, the Supreme Court is a final arbiter. So when they render that judgment, and I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty of that judgment or our opinion, we'll be discussing from time to time, and we think we need more reflection. The public is looking at the Bar Association, and we need more reflection on the subject matter. So until that decision can be collectively rescinded by the bar, Mr. Wamandigi remains expelled.
Okay. Yeah. Moses, any final question?
Not really. I just want to tell the councillor, thank you for honoring our invitation. I think it was an excellent exchange of views. Yeah, issues we agree on and things that we disagree on. But I want to say thank you so much, Mr. President. It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you,
Moses. Thank you so much. We see this as an opportunity to remain engaged with the public, and I must commend all of you. This is a very top-notch show. I follow your show most of the time, but I live way right behind with show, so it made it difficult for me to honor your invitation to come. But today I said, let the jinx be broken. Yeah. And I know the jinx is broken today because I'm here today to honor your invitation. And I hope we deal with the subject matter. We are always available to remain engaged. I don't shy away from the media. I'm a media-friendly person. So today we are at the military barracks at the BTC, where members of the army were being promoted to different ranks, and the opportunity was given us to engage the army officers. We call on the government of Liberia to support the military because it is inconceivable that a 6.5 million population country has 2,000 personnel. So I think we're not prepared. If you look at the surge of terrorism and all these regional security issues, I think premium must be placed
need to beef up
on the security sector. So, we are here. We all remain firebrand because we're doing it for our country. Somebody asked me another time,
oh yeah, man, they're in serious manner position in government now. You're saying advocacy. Yes, sometime you must do that. I've been advocacy. I'll continue being advocacy.
Let them wait. You soon get on the bench.
On the right time can come for me to go into government. So thank you so much, my brother. You know, I think it's an opportunity, and we're always available. Whenever you have topical issues that border on rule of law, please invite us. Let us come and remain engaged with the public. I think it's good for the public.
Okay. So before we go, let's try to reference just a few individuals and others who've been watching. Ophir S. Johnson, I've been watching from home. Henry T. Toll Jr., been watching from Cornwall. Boyma Kezulu, didn't say from where. J. William Yanti, didn't say from where. Love J. Kermi Sawie, didn't say from where. Siliki Traore, didn't say from where. Theophilus Hoff Darwin from Benson Street, you've been watching. DJ Teaser from in front of Prom FM, that's what he said. Okay, Dustin F. 12 from Chocolate City. Ernest Johnson from Ganta Nimakani. Minister Goodness Lester from NTA Community. Kemizi Fokba, I hope I got it right, from GS Road, and Rebecca Richards from Kentucky. Okay. Okay, on behalf of the entire team, Moses, thank you for today, for being there. And to you also, George, thank you for being there. And on behalf of the entire production team, Summer George Spanin, have a pleasant night.